Today, I'm going to show you how you can build out a fully functioning website with Claude Code. And instead of just talking about it, I'm actually going to break it down and do it step by step in front of you. I'm going to be building out a mortgage broker website, but you can use this exact step by step process either to build your own website or to sell this as a service to other people who need it. So let's get into it. So before we get into actually designing, developing, and hosting the website, we have to do the tech behind it and set it all up. So first off is downloading Claude Code. I'm not going to do it in front of you because I already have it installed, but you can head over to claude.ai/download and download whichever one is correct for your operating system. Now, once you have it downloaded, there's three ways to access Claude on your computer. The first one is in the terminal of your OS. So I'm going to search terminal on Mac using Control Space. And then I can open up Claude by typing it in and giving it access to my folder. From here, I can then give it access to my own project folder and build out my website in here. However, it is the less user-friendly, so I'm not going to use that today. What we are going to start with is the app, which is way number 2, and we are then going to use an IDE, which is an integrated development environment, to build out the rest of our website because we have more control on every single file. So now that we have this all set up, we are going to start by implementing a design skill called the front-end design skill. For those of you who don't know, skills are little snippets of code or text that we can input into Claude, and he will look through every single one of those skills every time he needs it. So by inputting a front-end design skill, any single website or design that he makes will come out more human and more natural, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it right here. So by heading out to Google Chrome, we are going to search for the skill. So I'm going to search for Claude front-end skill download. And the first link that's going to come up is the Claude Code plugin. So by looking here, you can see that there's some information on design thinking and front-end aesthetic guidelines. So we're going to click right here and download it. And if we head back over into the app, we can open the sidebar as such, click on customize, click on skills. And as you can see, there's already skills from Claude that you can turn on. And you can add a skill. You can either create it with Claude, which is really useful, or you can upload a skill, which is what we're going to do. And I'm going to upload the skill, which I downloaded twice. Once we have it uploaded, we can see right here on the right that it is turned on and it is now inputted into Claude. So for every single one of our designs that we're going to make, it's going to look at this and make the design more natural and more human. Next up, before we actually delve into the website design and the development, we want Claude to come up with a set of brand guidelines. And this is a super important part, whether if you're designing the website without AI or with AI. So I'm using Whisper, which is a really cool app that lets you speak instead of type everything out. So I'm going to ask it using my FN key. I am building a website for a mortgage broker, and I want you to create the full website design, and then I'm going to use you to code it instead of Claude Code and VS Code. Firstly, let's work on the brand identity and the guidelines before we actually delve into design. Ask me any questions you need to make a full brand identity design process. So as you can see, I asked it that and it typed it all out. And what's super interesting if you're using Claude Code is to say, ask me any questions you need to make a full brand, or ask me any questions you need for X, because instead of just guessing, it's going to ask you a ton of questions on what you're looking for, and it's going to just be closer to what you want. So as you can see, it is asking me for information. It's asking me what the broker's name is. For this example, I'm going to say that the broker's name is Emmanuel Howard. The primary target client is going to be first-time home buyers, and you know what, luxury high net worth buyers. So we are going to do that. And the broker's operating region is going to be California, since that is where I'm from. What personality traits should the brand convey? Trustworthy and established, warm and approachable, premium and sophisticated. Then what's the visual direction you're drawn to? Clean and minimal, bold and editorial, warm and human, luxury and fine. I like luxury a bit more than warm for the mortgage broker I'm going for. And are there any brands inside or outside of finance whose look and feel I do have references to share? This is a very interesting part of Claude Code, how you can add websites or references that you like and then add them into Claude and he'll make them sort of similar. So I really like the website of Harvey.ai, which is an AI tool for legal professionals. These guys are really great. I follow this guy on LinkedIn and he's super cool. So I'm going to simply copy this into Claude. Okay, so Claude ended up asking me quite a lot of questions, so I just cut it right there. As you can see, I answered them all about the type of website that I wanted. He also asked me if I had any references, so I'm adding the website of a law firm AI company that I really find interesting, so I'm adding this website. And I'm also going to mention the wireframe. So I'm going to say, I also want you to build out a wireframe before we actually delve into design. I want it to include a home page, an about page, a services page, a contact page, and a blog page with at least 3 blogs on it. Okay, so it's been a few minutes and now it has made a fully interactive wireframe, which looks really, really good. And one of the reasons I like AI so much is this would have taken a designer quite a few hours to make. As you can see, it's fully interactive, so we can head over to the about, services, blog, etc. And of course, this is just a wireframe. So if you're unfamiliar with website design, usually you start with a sitemap, then a wireframe, and then the full design, and then you actually code it and deploy it. So I quite like it, but it's a bit dark for my taste, and I still want the brand guidelines document. So I'm going to ask Claude, I'm going to say, hey Claude, I like the wireframe. However, I want the main color to be white, or at least light color, not necessarily exactly white. And I want you to make a full brand identity document that I can then input into Claude so that he has that information. So now it loaded it in for me and it looks really, really good. So I scrolled down already a bit, but you can see it made a brand overview, sort of explaining who the brand is for, what the brand positioning is, what the promise is. What I really find interesting is it shows over here what the brand is not. So I'm not corporate or impersonal. This is Emmanuel, not a brand, not a bank, which was exactly what I was going for in the personal brand sense, etc. So in your case, I would look through here, sort of see what it looks like, and you can change anything that you don't want. If you don't like the typeface, you can change the typeface. If you don't like what they said about your brand, you can change it right away. And you can then input this later on into Claude as an MD file. So now that we actually have the brand identity and the wireframe, even though it's a different color, I'm going to say, great, that looks good. Now I want you to redo the wireframe, but I now want it to be a fully functioning home page in HTML, and I want you to use these new brand identity guidelines. So by asking that, he's now going to make, I don't know why I just said he. Is Claude Code a he or a she? I don't know. But anyway, I just asked him to make the home page in HTML, so interactive, and if I like it, I'll then be able to develop and make the other pages and add that into Claude Code so he can actually make it an actual website instead of just code, instead of just a design. It took a few minutes and now Claude Code has generated the HTML file for the home page. So sometimes it's kind of squished in the Claude Code app. So what I'm going to do is download it into my folder, which I already have. I'm then going to head over to downloads and open up the HTML file and pull it over here onto the screen so you can see what it looks like. So we have, I think it looks really good so far. I like that it listened to me and made white the main color instead of dark. So we have total loans closed, clients served, exactly what type of services they do. However, as we can see, we only have one page so far. So if we actually explore, it's just going bring us back to the home page. Here we have some issues with the styling, so I'm going to have to mention that. We have the 4 steps to find your new home and the testimonials and a consultation page that he can book through. So this looks really, really good. Of course, it's still just HTML. It's still one page. So now we have to build out every single other page and then code it up so we can make it interactive. I really like the styling. Now do this for every other single page I mentioned and provide me the HTML files so that I can add them inside my IDE. Also note that on the home page you gave me, there is a section called a broker who treats your home like his own. And when I open it in the browser, it's not scaled properly. So make sure to check that code out again. So as you can see on the left, Claude has now fixed the home page, made the about, services, blog, and contact pages. So I'm not going to open all of these because we already have them, but just to showcase that everything is fixed, I'm going to open up emmanuelhoward.html, so the main home page. I'm going to pull it up here, and as you can see, he fixed the broker, the About Emmanuel section right here that looked crooked earlier. We only took a part of the page. And if we open the About HTML and I drag it over onto the screen, we can see that it designed it with the brand guidelines and it made it look super, super nice how he approaches every transaction. how some credentials he has, career. Anyway, it looks really, really good. So now we actually have the designs. And what I recommend if you really want to get into this is open up every single one of these files that he provides you, and you can make changes in here. Because you can also make changes in the terminal, but it's a bit easier to make right in here with Claude the app. So I'd start by doing that. Now I'm going to import them into an IDE. But right before I do that, I want to create an info.md file that I can also input into Claude so that he'll know all the animations and all the links and everything else I want to add to it all in one place. So I'm going to ask Claude to generate that for me. Okay, now I'm going to import all of these into the IDE VS Code, and I'm going to use Claude Code in the terminal. For him to understand everything I want you to make an info.md file that is going to include all the brand guidelines, all the animations I want, and anything else you think I need for Claude to understand me correctly. Great, so it created the Claude MD file, and now just as a recap, we have every single page of our website as HTML. I've checked them all out and they all look good. And we now have the document that we're going to put into Claude Code. So as I said at the beginning, we are going to build it out in the VS Code IDE. So I'm going to open up right away, which I just did, and here I have it. So I'm in an existing project, and now to create a new project, I'm going to head over to my documents, and I have my own file system, but just for the video, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Emmanuel Howard, and that's going to be my website folder. And now I'm going to go over inside of VS Code, click on File, click on New Open Folder, and I'm going to open the folder we just created, which is Emmanuel Howard. Now I'm going to drag in every single file we have from VS Code, so from Claude, sorry. So I'm going to drag this onto my other screen just to make this a bit easier to drag into. I'm going to click on download them all. So it's going to download every single one of the HTML files, and they are now in the Finder. So if I go over to download, here they are. I'm going to go download this. Oh, they're in here. So I'm going to grab all of these and drag them into VS Code. And I'm also going to download the MD file. So that is in downloads as well. Head back to download, and here we have info.md. So if you are unfamiliar with VS Code, I'm going to full screen it, but essentially you can access every single one of your files and modify every single one of your files. And what's great about using Claude Code in the terminal is you have a lot more control on every single individual file instead of just guessing what you want Claude Code to do in the app. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open up the terminal using Control J, and I'm then going to open up Claude by simply entering Claude and saying, yes, I trust this folder. Now this is what Claude looks like in a terminal, and you can give them instructions from here. Now there's also different modes. You can accept edits automatically, and you can use plan mode where Claude is going to read the folders and create a plan, but he won't actually automatically make changes. So I'm going to start us off in plan mode, and I'm going to say, I just added 5 different HTML files into this project and an info.md file. I want you to look at all of them and ask me any questions you need before building out this website. So I'm going to tell Claude that. It's going to take some time to actually run through every single one of these, and it's going to ask me any other questions I have. As I said before, it's really interesting if you ask Claude to ask you questions, because it won't guess and you'll make sure you get what you want out of it. So now it's asking me questions, so I'm going to go through it. I'm going to say HTML structure only. How should CSS be structured among the site? It should be one shared style sheet. Should the homepage be renamed? Yes, it shall. For images, what should be used? Unsplash all provide images. Here's some real mix, some placeholders. For the moment, I'm going to go for unsplash placeholders, but of course you would want to add your own pictures, which I will likely do later. So now I'm giving it the answer to its questions, and it's going to either start building it out or asking me some more questions. Great, so about 10 or 15 minutes later, I was just watching YouTube while this updated, but they finished making all the pages interactive. I haven't seen them yet, so we're gonna check them out together. And I asked Claude to host it locally, which just means that you're gonna host it locally on your computer so that you can see them. And you can do this yourself by heading over to extensions, extensions and by searching live server, and you could install it yourself, but I just asked Claude to do it for me. So let's go ahead and open our local host and see what it looks like. So this was the HTML version, and this is the interactive version, right? So as you can see, if you click on About, Services, Insights, etc., it's going to bring you to them because it's fully interactive. So let's scroll down and see what this first version of this website looks like. So far it looks pretty damn good. It's followed our color palette, and as you can see now it has interactions and animations. Like for example, right here it hovers and it has a animation when you hover, which it didn't have before. So it has multiple like this. Let's check out services. It looks pretty damn good. What I would do, of course, if this was for a client, is I would ask him for his own information, fill it up with his own information and his own pictures. And you can see it has first-time buyer loans, luxury and jumbo, refinancing. It looks pretty good. What's down here? Oh, this is super cool. See, it shows the typical down payment and some more loan information. Then on the insights page, this is actually the blog. So I asked it for minimum 3 blogs, which it did. So it has 4 total is what I'm seeing. And can we read them? So we can't read them. So see, next what we'd have to do is we'd have to ask Claude to actually make blog pages so that we could actually write our own blogs and improve the SEO that way. And finally, we have the contact page right here, which we'd also have to set up in Claude. So you could ask, oh, this is cool. See, it already gave options on different options of what they're looking for. So just some quick notes that I'm making in my head as we are building this out is that I need Claude to make me some blog pages. I also need it to set up the contact form so that it actually works and comes through. And I like that it adds another FAQ section. So all in all, this looks pretty damn good. Of course, you would want to modify this for your own business or for who you're working with. But for a first version that took us only a few minutes, minus the time that I was waiting for it to load, it looks pretty damn good. So next up, we are up to step 4. Step 4 is actually hosting the website. Now you can host it using multiple different servers, but I'm going to use Netlify, which is free and one of the most common. So I'm going to say host the website using Netlify. And so now it's going to help me connect to my Netlify account and host this website online so that I can actually send the website to someone and that they can open it themselves. So it's just asking me some questions and I'm going to say yes to all of them. And I also like to click on 2 so it's not just yes, but it's yes and you don't actually have to ask me every single time. Okay, now I asked Claude to actually host it using Netlify, which is one of the hosting providers that you can use, and it's free and it's really simple. So I asked it to do it with Netlify. It then gave me a command to input, so I input it back into the terminal, and as you can see here, it had some issues. So it took me about like 5 minutes of going through and just answering Claude's questions. It then had me log in on my other screen to Netlify, which I did with GitHub since I already have an account. And then finally, a few minutes later, it hosted it online. So as you can see, you can manage it from my Netlify dashboard. So if I open it up using command click, it's going to open it up here and I can actually manage my website. And if I head back to VS Code and open the Netlify app using command click, it's going to open up this website. And what's really cool is now I can send this link to anyone and they can check it out. So if I was selling this to a business, for example, and they didn't have a domain yet, or we hadn't connected their domain, well, I could just send this Netlify app link over and they could check it out. However, of course, you're going to want to connect your domain either using Netlify or Claude Code or connect an existing domain you have. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, but essentially we designed it, coded it, hosted it, and you could use this website for yourself. It's fully functional. You can go through here and ask Claude to change anything you want, and it's pretty damn cool.